Shalom. This week we are reading Parashat Ki Tavo, beginning in Sefer Devarim, the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 26. And the parasha begins with the promise that you will come into the land of Israel. It will happen that when you enter into the land that Hashem, your God, gives you as an inheritance and you possess it, you're commanded with the beautiful mitzvah, the commandment of the bikurim, the first fruits, one of the most beautiful aspects of the service of the Holy Temple. First fruits the Jew brings to the Holy Temple and presents them before Hashem to bring all of his effort in this world full circle. And this is accompanied by a very enigmatic, very beautiful, very encompassing declaration of Jewish history, of the whole nation and the individual. And the parasha continues with many different ideas. This special commitment that's made in entering the land, the stones that are set up on the other side of the Jordan. It's followed with the blessings, and in fact, regarding the blessings we read, it shall be that if you hearken to the voice of Hashem your God to observe, to perform all of his commandments that I command you this day, then Hashem your God will make you supreme over all the nations of the earth. All these blessings will come upon you and overtake you if you hearken to the voice of Hashem your God. And then we come upon the admonition for disobedience, what's called the curses. And the entire parasha ends with the beautiful words, you shall observe the words of this covenant so that you will succeed in all that you do. And I think that actually there is one theme that connects all of the ideas in this week's Torah portion. One thread that flows from the beginning of the portion, the bringing of the first fruits, through the blessings, even through the admonition. And that idea really is the idea of thankfulness, the idea of hakarat hatov, of a person realizing the presence of God in his life, and a person bringing everything, every situation, every development, every aspect of his life back to God with complete thankfulness. This is certainly, as we all know, the background of the bringing of the first fruits, but it's also the background of everything, and it's a major message that the Torah is delivering to us, how important it is for a person to be cognizant of the hand of God in our lives. And when we look at the portion of the first fruit, we certainly see that in the declaration of the awareness of coming to this point of everything that we've been through until now. But even when it comes to the portion of the admonition, when it comes to the difficult part of the Torah that we read here, about all of the things that will overtake us when we do not follow the word of Hashem, there is an incredible climax here that is reached in chapter 28, verse 47, where we read, after this whole litany of all sorts of mishaps and all sorts of things that will befall us as a natural reaction, as it were, not as a punishment, but as just the natural state of affairs of our distancing ourselves from the reality of Hashem in our lives, we come to this verse that it's all happening because you did not serve Hashem your God amid gladness and goodness of hearts when everything was abundant. Or actually, those words can be read not when everything was abundant, but from an abundance of everything. That after all, this is a very famous idea, the description that is given here of the reason why all of these things befall us is not because we did not keep the commandments, not because we did not live on a certain level of piety, but all because we did not serve God with gladness, with a whole heart, and with a feeling that everything that we have is exactly what we're supposed to have. So this certainly also underscores this idea of thankfulness. And there's a beautiful idea that is taught by the Holy Baal Shem Tov regarding this amazing and moving ceremony of bringing the first fruits to the Holy Temple. That the first fruits are to be placed in a basket. And the basket is taken to the Holy Temple and presented to the Kohen and lifted up before the presence of God. And the basket in Hebrew, as we read in verse 2 of chapter 26 is called Tene, and it's made of 3 Hebrew letters, the Tet, the Nun, and the Aleph. And these 3 letters, Tene, which spell basket, according to the Holy Baal Shem Tov, stand for the 3 words Ta'amim, Nikudot, Otiot, which refer to the cantillation, the musical notes, the actual vowel points of the letters, and the letters themselves, the ta'amim, the musical cantillation, the nikudot, the vowel points, and the otiot, the letters. And this is a very enigmatic teaching that he's giving over to us, that the basket into which are placed the Jews' first fruit is itself made up of letters and vowels and musical notes, the way in which the words of the Torah are read. And at first glance, this teaching sounds very esoteric and very abstract, but actually it's conveying a very beautiful message. What is the vessel that holds the first fruits, which are themselves an expression of the deepest recognition of the hand of God in our lives? The humility to realize, even after we have brought forth our crop, that we have nothing in this world without Him. The humility to realize that everything is really through the hand of God. The very expression in which that can be expressed, the vessel to hold that feeling of thankfulness, the basket, are the words that we speak, the recognition, the letters, the vowels, that which we are able to bring forth in words is in itself the basket that holds the first fruits. In other words, if we will not give expression to the feeling in our heart, if we will not have the presence of mind and the humility to be able to bring everything literally to Hashem and express with our own words our thankfulness, then we will not really be fulfilling the commandment. The basket itself that holds the first fruits is the very ability that we have to externalize, to step outside of ourselves, and to realize that all of our efforts are nothing without Hashem's blessings. But this isn't even the most amazing thing, because there are so many ideas that link this concept of the thankfulness, the realization of Hashem in our lives, that link every aspect of Parashat Ki Tavo, the bringing of the first fruits, the receiving of the blessings, and again, even the admonition, only when things go haywire, when things backfire, it's only a result of not having served God with joy. There's one other thing, though, and this is really, for me, the climax of this whole idea. We read, in reference to this beautiful ceremony of the farmer bringing the first fruits to the Holy Temple, we read how he presents the basket to the Kohen. The Kohen, the priest who is serving in the Holy Temple, takes the basket from him and places it on the floor of the Holy Temple before the altar of the Lord. And then the verse tells us, then you shall call out, is the translation here. You speak and say before Hashem your God. And he gives over this whole history. An Aramean tried to destroy my forefather. He descended to Egypt and sojourned there, few in number, and there he became a nation. It's a whole encompassing retelling of the history of the people of Israel. But the words begin in chapter 26 and verse 5 with these words, Ve'anita ve'amarta lifnei Hashem Elokecha, which is here translated, then you shall call out and speak and say before Hashem your God. And this is the beginning of the service of the declaration that the pilgrim who brings the first fruits utters in the presence of Hashem in the Holy Temple. The only thing is, this is not such a good translation, because what it literally means is, then you shall answer. Not you shall call out or speak, but then you shall answer and speak before Hashem your God. Ve'anita. This is an expression of answering. But what's the question? There was no question that was posed. There was no question that was asked. The way the pilgrim begins his prayer, his retelling, his expression of thankfulness to Hashem for everything that He's done in his life to bring him as part of the nation of Israel, as we see in this declaration, and as an individual who has been blessed, who is bringing the first fruits. The whole declaration begins with the words, "Then you shall answer." But what was the question? And this is the most beautiful revelation of all in Parashat Ki Tavo. The question is several-fold. One level of the question is the question that I had myself in my own heart. In my life, I'm the one bringing the first fruits, and I was always wondering, am I going to be able to realize Hashem in my life? Am I going to be able to see this through? Am I going to be able to have the courage and the fortitude and all of those proper aspects of my personality to be able to be a part of God's nation, to be able to come and stand before Him in the Holy Temple? And in a way, it's part of the existential dilemma of every person coming to grips with the reality of God in his life and with the reality of the human condition. And there's always a question. Every man of faith has a question. My whole life is a question. But coming to the Holy Temple and bringing the first fruits and standing there before the presence of God and realizing how much has been part of my life, now I'm finally answering. I'm answering my own question. That's one level of the answer. And the other level of the answer is, there was a question that was posed, and it was God's question. And God was asking each and every one of us if we will be able to come to the point in our lives of bringing everything back to Him and realizing how much He has been blessing us, how much He has been part of everything that we do. And there certainly was a question posed in every moment of our lives. There is a question mark hovering. It's our question. It's His question. It's the universal question of whether or not we will be able to succeed, as the parasha ends with those words. If we will hearken to the words of the commandments, then we will succeed in all of our endeavors. And when the pilgrim comes to the Holy Temple, comes to the land of Israel, the inheritance, comes to the Holy Temple, brings the first fruits, brings everything back to Hashem, realizes with utter candor and humility, I have nothing in this world without Hashem's blessings, and that even those curses, as it were, that have come into my life, it's only because I had a momentary lapse of consciousness where I was not realizing the vibrant joy of Hashem in my life. When we come to that point, then we are indeed answering that universal question that hovers over our lives, and that is the ultimate validation of the very stuff of our lives.